Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Danielle Mitchell. I'm the CEO and founder of Black Women in Clinical Research. Today, we have the Lunch and Learn with Next Innovative Clinical Research. I just want to thank everyone for joining. Thank you, Next Innovative Clinical Research, for being here today. I would love if we could start with introductions. Dr. Richmond, Latoya, if you would like to share.
Well, I'm Latoya. I am the owner of Next Innovative Clinical Research and Research Director. I founded it back in 2015. I am from Chicago, but I somehow found my way all the way in Houston with Dr. Richmond and her staff. So yeah, I'm absolutely loving it, but we'll get into how we met and all that good stuff a little bit later.
All right, I am Dr. Taria Richmond. I'm a board certified family medicine physician, and I am a PI, and I think I've been a PI since 2018 when Toya and I met, but I also have a private practice here in Houston, Texas in the 3rd Ward area called Your Total Health Clinic and Day Spa. Oh, and I'm from Chicago too.
Okay, yes, that got to be the connection. Once you meet somebody from where you from, you like, it's done. You like, you from Chicago.
How we met though.
Okay, ladies. You want to start?
Practitioner. I'm also a sub-PI here. And I started this clinical research journey this year in 2022.
Okay, and I didn't catch your name. Could you say your name for me one more time, please? Okay.
Erica, if you couldn't hear.
Erica. Okay. Hi, Erica. Okay. So anyone to the right or to the left?
I'm Jasmine. I'm the medical assistant, phlebotomist, research coordinator. I just started this year also in 2020.
Okay.
It's 2022.
Oh, 2022. It's Monday, y'all. It's Monday.
Yes, I understand. I told you already how my Monday was going. Next.
I'm a medical scribe.
I can't hear you. I don't know if it's. Okay. And if you guys can mute your mic, please.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay,
that's what
it is. Okay, I'm Asia. I'm the medical scribe, medical assistant, and research coordinator, and I started this year as well. And I was born in Chicago.
Look at this. I want to say Chi-Town is representing.
Absolutely.
Well, you know, Chicago and Detroit, they have a lot of similarities. So
We're cousins.
when I go to Chicago, I feel like I'm back home in Detroit a lot of times. We're just looking at different things. So thank you, ladies, so much. So let's dive in. I want to hear all about, you know, how you guys met, your journey, how you even got, like a lot of times, how you even got into clinical research. I think a lot of times, you know, everyone says that they stumble upon clinical research. So, you know, tell us how you got started, how you met Dr. Richmond. We want to hear all about the details.
Well, I got started in research. It was a class within my public health program, and they were teaching us about research, but on the aspect of community research. So once I was doing more investigating, I stumbled upon clinical research and pharmaceutical. So I decided to start applying. I got an entry-level position as a coordinator. I worked for about 2 years, and then I went on to university setting, worked for another 2 years, where I got the idea of presenting clinical research to other African-American doctors. What I noticed when I was doing research is that in going to the investigators meetings, there weren't any African-American doctors. There weren't any, the staff wasn't Black. It just didn't look like anybody that looked like me. And so I'm like, maybe that's why there's not a lot of participants that look like me, because we don't have any people representing on the clinical side. So I started to got this idea that I wanted to start my own clinical research company, and I started approaching different doctors to work with my site, to work with me. And it was the hardest thing ever, because what I found and still find is that a lot of doctors can't participate because either they're tied in with a network like an advocate, like a dually, microreads or whatever, and they can't perform clinical research in their office. So it had to be a solely independent position. So that was hard in itself. So I decided to go back to work and do some more research and find out more about SMOs, site management organizations, and find out more information about owning my own site. So I just started, continue to network, continue to learn. And a friend of mine introduced me to Dr. Richmond all the way in Houston. Ideally, my site was going to be in Chicago. I'm looking for doctors in Chicago. So she, met Dr. Richmond, had a conversation and said, yeah, my friend can tell you how to get into research. So we had a phone call. Dr. Richmond was extremely hesitant, extremely. So I said, I'm gonna hop on the plane and I'm gonna come introduce myself. Because a lot of times if you're talking to people over the phone, they're like, is this a scam? Do you really know what you're talking about? So once she met me, she was still hesitant. I think she stopped being hesitant, this year?
Yeah. So I would say not so much hesitant, like I was like, okay, let's do it. But then I would say the word would be skeptical. That would probably be the best word. And not so much of Toya, but of the process, how this really works. So from a PI perspective, so that means I'm a primary investigator, in case there's anybody that doesn't know what that means. I'm like, okay, so how does this work? I've been in academic medicine since I graduated from residency. And so to Toya's point, here in Houston, if you work at Baylor, if you work at UT, although you don't realize it, most likely you are participating in some type of clinical research in one way or another. Even if it's seeing patients and you're entering your information into the electronic health records, a lot of that information is being used for clinical research. So we just don't have the mindset to know that this is something that we can do independently. And then also the question is, okay, so we're not billing insurance, like how am I going to get paid? So it's all of these different questions. And so, I mean, we sat down, and Toya went through everything with me, like line by line by line. And then it also helped me to understand what my responsibility is as a PI. So I don't get to just chill and just make money. And so no, there's oversight that has to be done, right? And so learning and I would say this for PIs, a lot of us, it's even if we have our standalone practice, a lot of us to think about regulatory and compliance and making sure I sign the date right. That's a lot for a doctor. I'm like, let me just see my patients and do my thing, right? So Danielle, I see you want to laugh. It's okay, you can laugh. Because it's real, right? So for us, there's a lot of hesitation. And as we're in the process of looking for sub-Is and things like that, people that I know us are skeptical, like Dr. Richmond, really, whatever. And so for us having this relationship, I have definitely learned a lot. And now I consider myself a pretty good seasoned PI where I can help other doctors understand what the process is and what that looks like. And so, so this year, I think our women's health study just kind of took over, and I'm like, oh, I can see now. And I shouldn't say took over, but it took off is what I meant to say. It took off, and I'm like, I can see how this all works, and continue, of course, with the oversight and everything, but just the day-to-day has been really good for me to be more comfortable with clinical research.
Yeah, I can definitely see, from a doctor's perspective, being skeptical, because if clinical research is not presented to you, especially when you're in medical school, and then you get out and you're like, wait a minute, what is that? How does that work? Let me make sure, because you have so much responsibility and because you have oversight over the clinical trials, I think it's important to be hesitant, because that means that you care and you're like, I want to do this right. So if I'm going to get involved in clinical research, let me ask as many questions as possible so that I'm following all of the guidelines. And so I think it's important. And I'm glad that you and Toya have met and have that Chicago bond, and you guys can talk about different things, where to get the best pizza or who has the best pizza. Maybe you can tell me, because when I went to Chicago, I had this pizza. I was like, know about this, but yeah,
we can tell you.
Yes, please do. So ladies in the back, please, if you could tell us, how you even got into clinical research. How did you find out about it?
Well, I work for Dr. Richmond as her nurse practitioner. So that's how I was first introduced into the clinical research portion. And just kind of learning about it in the current study that we have going on, it not only furthered my knowledge base, but
Okay, she muted us. Okay.
My apologies. Someone else was, I was trying to mute their mic and sorry.
I'm not sure where I left off, but I was just stating that I got introduced by Toya and Dr. Richmond. They asked me if I would be interested in joining as a sub PI, and without, with further education from them, it seems like something that I would like to do. So that's how I got into it, just from the being present in the clinical office setting. But it's really been a joy learning more about the different studies. And not only do you learn about the studies, but you learn about that particular disease process that we might be focusing and researching on. So it expands my knowledge base, and it's something that I can use to take me, further on in my career.
Okay, so for people who don't know about, what is a sub-I, what is a co-I, can you tell people what are your job responsibilities as a sub-I?
So what I do is whenever there's a patient that may be starting the research study, I can do the initial physical exams. I also can do if for the study that we're in, I had a patient that we needed to remove an IUD because they cannot be on birth control. So different procedures that need to be done, I am able to facilitate that if Dr. Richmond is not available, and just kind of keep it running at all times while the clinic is open. So just kind of doing initial assessments, physical exams, and doing any kind of procedures that need to be done.
So you're like Robin, with Batman and okay.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. And listen, and I want to say this, and certainly in research, she jumped right in. But I think one of the things that has made us so successful is the teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work. So of course, with everything that Erica does on the physical side and the clinical side, also keeping up with the documentation, making sure that our research coordinators are doing what they need to do, and we are a very close-knit team. So it makes it fun.
Yeah.
And then the patients feel the energy and they love it.
Yeah.
Subjects feel the energy and they love it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And also as a nurse practitioner, being able to see patients that may be suffering from different conditions, I am able to then educate them about different studies that we have going on and let them know that it is available to them if they're interested. So we can take care of the patient, as a patient, and also get them further treatment at no cost to them, and able to either treat their condition or put them in the right hands if needed. So it's we're able to treat them as a whole.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. Let's see. Would anyone else like to share how they got involved in clinical research? How did clinical research pull you in? Can't hear you if you're talking. Anyone's talking?
Sorry.
Okay.
Oh, it's still there.
Speak up. I told you she was the one that has to speak up. She's the most soft-spoken one out of all of us.
Come on, Chicago.
I learned about research in undergrad, and I'm pre-med, so I was always in pre-med organizations on campus, and that's how I was introduced, especially in my science classes. And then just meeting with Dr. Richmond and being on the team in the clinic setting, I learned more about the study. And then as a research coordinator, I do more of the admin stuff. So I handle the screening process to make sure that they qualify to be in the study, and then also sending off their labs and making sure they're seen by the practitioner if anything pops up.
So Asia's being modest. Asia was like, Dr. Richmond, y'all doing research? How can I be a part of that? I was like, okay. This is actually perfect timing. I'm like, Toya, yep. We need a research coordinator. So this is perfect timing. So yeah, I mean, and so I believe that everything happens in the time that it should and in the place that it should. And so it just literally was like a natural progression into clinical research. And I'll say this too, a part of my hesitancy was calm because I know, y'all, we are in Houston, Texas. And if you don't know this, Houston has the largest medical center in the nation. We're across the freeway from the medical center, and pretty much all of our patients are like, we love coming here. We are not going over there because you got to pay for parking. A lot of the providers don't look like us, and so that was also some the other buy-in for me was like, oh, I'm community health oriented. I have my master's in public health as well, and it was in community health. And I was like, oh, if this is something else that we can bring to our patients to give them an opportunity to be a part of a study, and then also for us to be able to represent from the research group to also the patients, then patients turning into subjects, let's do it. So that was my other part of it. I was like, oh, we can actually make a difference.
And also let me add on to that, because a lot of people who want to start a site will feel intimidated being in between medical centers. Like in Chicago, I'm looking at locations near Northwestern and University of Chicago. That's not intimidating to me because I have something to offer that they can't. Someone asked about regulatory. I do regulatory in my sleep. I can start up a study within 2 weeks. Whereas if you go to a university setting, it takes them 3 to 6 months. It takes forever. And then of course, patients don't want to go there because they have to go to the lab. They have to go to the pharmacy. They have to go to radiology. They have to go see the PI. And it's like so much traveling. It takes literally a whole day to do a visit. Whereas here, for a screening visit, maybe 2 hours, maybe.
And we have free parking. It's a big deal.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's important I think a lot of times people don't think about that, you know, from the patient's perspective, if I have to pay for parking, you know, if there's going to, you know, am I going to find a parking spot? You know, so many different things. Like, what if I can't find a parking spot? Then I have to try and find something on the street. A lot of times people will get, you know, upset about not being able to find a parking spot and just leave and just be like, you know, I'm just going to deal with this another day. There's so many things that people don't consider as far as well, like childcare. If I'm going to go here, like, you know, it's so many barriers that makes people kind of hesitant about being involved in clinical research, because they think about all of these things. If I have to take off from work because of the hours, you know, I'm not going to get that money for taking off of work. So it's just so many different things. And I'm glad, you know, especially with, I came down to visit myself. Y'all, I had if you are in Houston, Texas, this is my plug right here. Please go over there and get you a massage. Like, I had a massage, like Dr. Richmond treated me. I was like, oh, I'm feeling VIP, but you know, there was a massage, you can get a pedicure, like everything. You guys can tell about the other stuff too, but you know, it makes it convenient for someone who is a patient to have all of those services. So, you know, once they leave their appointment, they can go in and the whole peace and tranquility and all of that on the other side. I was just amazed at how large the clinic is when I was over there. I was like, these halls keep going.
Thank you.
Welcome. It's so spacious.
I was gonna say, let's not forget about Jasmine.
Yes, absolutely.
Wait, baby. What you need?
Oh, somebody need to mute themselves.
I think the baby needs something. Yes, Jasmine, please share.
I got started in research initially just drawing the labs that they needed, and then I put on another hat.
She got sucked in.
Okay. So, well, that's good. Because, you know, I think it's important too to have representation. And, you know, we don't see a lot of, like, especially in this industry, and even with starting in my journey, there weren't a lot of Black women when I started. So to just see a site that is doing well and that you guys are like family with each other and just connecting. I don't know if you guys have seen this TikTok video, y'all, but I was repeating it. I was like, okay, Dr. Richmond with the microphone and everything. Like, I felt like I was there, like I was hyped. I was like, okay, so You about to say something, Toya?
No, I was going to say that, and that's what we wanted you all to feel. Like, we want patients and we want sponsors to see us and to say, okay, that looks like a well-organized site. They look like they can get stuff done. Like, we want to represent us. On top of that, just reflect the professionalism that we have. You know, we have fun, but we get our work done as well.
Right.
Toya is always like, she's like, so we're gonna hold off on this social media. We got work to do.
Toya's like, social media is over. We gonna come back to that.
Y'all, let's get something else. We gotta put something else up there, you know. So it's funny, but we all really work very well together when it comes to all aspects of what we do. I was also gonna say that I don't think I've ever said this to LaToya, but one of the other things I love about what we're able to do is to be able to expose our staff to other opportunities. Now, while I would love for them to stay with me until I retire, I think being able to provide diverse skills, having the opportunity to be a part of clinical research is just another layer that they can add to their resume, to their CV, and they can, you know, the sky is the limit. You know, again, I would love for everybody to stay here. However, I want people to have transferable and translatable skills that they can use if they ever decide that they want to leave. We all already pierced our finger and did the whole so no, I'm just joking.
but that's good though, because you know, a lot of times I would say at companies they act like, you know, and this is just being honest, they don't always want to see people in their organization to level up and to really, you know, it's almost like they get upset with you if you decide, you like, why are you leaving me? Hey, it's time for me, you know. But I think that's very important that you are making sure that your team is growing and knowing that, you know, hey, if you have goals and aspirations, this is something, there might be something else out there, you know. So I think I commend you on that, because a lot of people do not always push, you know, the people that they work with to go to the next level and to use the skill and to, you know, really advance in your career. And so also too, while we are, I'm looking at everybody's beautiful shirts too. Everyone has on a Black Women in Clinical Research shirt. So give another little plug. If you want your t-shirt, please go on bwicr.com. I will also put that information in the link. Let's see, what else? Is there anything else that you ladies would like to share? I know we have some questions in the chat, but you know, anything else, like, let's see, for example, what are the challenges you would say that you experience with trying to start your own site? Like what, you know, like for other people who might be interested?
The trouble that I had was, number one, finding the physician, but also finding studies. Finding studies have been, and still has been, a challenge, which is really crazy, because we hear about diversity, inclusion all day long, especially within the past 2 years. And it's like, no, we still don't want you. And even though we're overly qualified, even though we do have the patient population, they're like, yeah, still no. And what we've really been after now is derm studies or cosmetic studies, because a lot of the cosmetics have not been tried on our skin. And it's like, all right, here we are. We have a dermatologist listed as a sub-I that, you know, is more than willing to come over, wants to participate, wants studies. And these derm studies are like, yeah, no. And I'm like, how Sway? Like, literally, there are, what they say, 10% of the dermatologists in the US are African-American. And I can almost say that, maybe 2 or 3 of them are PIs on studies, derm studies.
Mm-hmm. I know a couple of the dermatologists, Dr. Kendra. So she does clinical research. So you're right. And so I know that we were talking about earlier about the spa. And so even on that side of things, we do have estheticians, we do facials, of course, like you said, massages, pedicures, but a lot of that even still can tie into clinical research. And so just don't be surprised when y'all see us in 2023. We're going to be represented at all the conferences, everything, because we need to be seen. We need to definitely, so not only be seen, I know that your show up game is strong. So this is what I would say to anybody that's interested in clinical research. If you're interested in starting your own site, if you're trying to get studies, the show up game has got to be on. You have to make it happen. Even I know, Danielle, I saw you post, even if you go to the lobby or you don't have to pay, maybe you don't have the money to do all the things, but your show up game is so important in the relationships.
Yes.
So we have really been working to establish relationships. And so you never know, one thing may lead to another. I'll give an example, and I talked to Alana today about their project where they're going to be, I believe it's through Merck, they're going to be looking at high schools and grammar schools to come in and start introducing clinical research, right? So we're talking and she was like, oh, you have your own clinical research site? Oh, I'm going to put you in touch with, so service goes a long way. Service goes a long way too. So I would say, make your show up game strong. Make sure that you establish relationships, and then, and 3, be of service, because you just never know. And so this is an aside, but for Jasmine, before we started doing clinical research, she's like, okay, she came in, she was doing her internship and everything for CMA, a medical assistant. And she said, Dr. Richmond, I have to take my examination, but can I still come in a couple of days out of the week until I start? Absolutely, that goes a long way. So you may not get, the big bucks up front, but trying to establish those relationships is so imperative.
Absolutely. Because like you said, I make sacrifice by attending all of these conferences, but that's because you have to build it. You have to build those relationships with people. So there are conferences that I've gone to, conferences that are called diverse, summits. And I go there and I'm like, why is this called a diversity summit and there's not diverse people here? So that's why I'm always encouraging our members, and like Dr. Richmond said, showing up and being present, and let them see that you're a Black woman or a Black man, or let them see who you are and what you're doing in this industry, because these are the times where people are making these connections, and the conferences are so important to attend. And so that's why I have been working hard too to reduce the cost of these conferences, because they can get expensive. The conferences are costing over $1,000. And if you are a site, you can't always afford to go to these conferences if it's $1,000 for every conference that you want to go to. And that's not even including your hotel, your food. So it can get pretty expensive, but I'm doing my part to make sure that, we can show up at these events, because I don't want money to be a factor for us when it comes time to us attend. So let's see, we have a lot of questions. Anything else that you ladies would like to share before we dive into some of the questions in the chat?
I would, Danielle. So I am also the physician advisor to BWICR. And so one of the things that I want y'all to just keep in mind as we continue on this journey together is that we don't want people to be left out. We want to be able to offer all of the services that are offered to everyone that's a member. So membership fees is a way, look there, you're gonna get is a way to help make that happen. So just look forward to ways that you can be more involved. And then also a small nominal membership fee, ain't never hurt nobody. You get a whole lot. Listen, since we joined, and I should say this, since LaToya told me about Black women in clinical research, I mean, it has been amazing. Like I said earlier, I talked to Alana, she's like, oh, I'm at Merck. Oh, let me put you in touch with. So you just never know, but membership has its benefits. Can I say that?
Yes.
I know that's somebody else's tagline, but.
You absolutely can, because, in order to go to the next level, in order to be like major organizations, we have to, start putting things into place so that we can have these conferences, we can have these different events, we can have training and development events for people who are interested in the industry, no matter where you are in your clinical research journey. So I completely agree. I've just, for me, this was something that I started that I didn't intend to make a company. I just wanted to connect with people who look like me. So, it has transitioned. And so, just part of the process and going to the next level. And, I really enjoy helping everyone. I enjoy exposure and, having it to where we know about clinical trials and how to start your own site. And so that we can help other people who are interested in this and not just focus on, nothing against CRAs, but I feel like the industry puts a lot of focus on just being a CRA, and we don't really uncover all of the other positions that's available for people in this industry. Let's see. We got quite a few questions here. So someone asked, and forgive me if I say your name incorrectly, Atira says, how are you currently connecting with trial opportunities?
So right now, networking on LinkedIn, just contacting different individuals, whether it's medical science liaisons or feasibility specialists, and I'll reach out to them. And then also, of course, the website for the different sponsors, and they always have a link to inquire about different studies. So those are the places that we go to.
I was just gonna say, me personally, this is what I do. So we have pharmaceutical reps come in all the time to, tell us about their recent drug or whatever. One of the ways that I connect is I say, hey, it's so nice to meet you. Thank you so much for bringing lunch. I learned so much about your drug. Can you put me in touch with the medical science liaison? That's one way. And the other way we also have been getting noticed is social media. So LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. If it's not anything we've been having meetings and discussions on HIV trials for how long now?
Since February.
So we're having meetings, but nothing has came from that as of now. But we're massaging, we're planting the seed, and I believe either you connected with her, but they're watching, right? So now that like Toya said on her post, we said on our post, now that we have your attention, hey, we are available for studies. So
yes, bring all the studies into the house.
But you have to be present, right? So it's real hard to, and I know that's from building a medical practice, it's real hard to get engagement from a sponsor, from patients, if they don't see you, especially if you're African American. Your presence, your face, your brand, it matters. So it's going to be real difficult to kind of work from your office and make these connections without people seeing your face and knowing your name.
Absolutely. So we have another question here. How many studies do you currently manage at your site?
Right now, we're actually closing out a study now. We have one women's health trial that's really booming, and we're starting one up tomorrow. So as of tomorrow, we'll have 2 active studies.
This is a question, but I don't really, it involves getting into the clinical research as a sales rep. There are, for the person that asked this question, there are sales positions in clinical research. My husband is involved in sales. He's a SDR, a sales development rep. He's an account executive / team lead. So a lot of times, if you just search and do like clinical research sales and see what Google pops up with, you can find the different positions that's available. They have, so many different positions when it comes to sales. They have business positions that you can look up in clinical research. I always recommend for people to look at their transferable skills and see what position could they easily transition into, versus a lot of times creating like a new wheel and trying to find positions that don't necessarily connect with what your current skills that you have. So we have another question. Do you handle all research aspects on sites such as regulatory? Yes, I believe, yes. She says she does regulatory in her sleep, y'all. So yes.
No, there are no lies told, y'all. She is not, as the young people say, capping, no capping. In her sleep.
Yes, I mean, regulatory is a beast. That's how I started off in the industry, learning regulatory. And people, think a lot of times too, I feel like if you can have regulatory down pat, you can really, everything else. But it's a lot with regulatory.
And that's a great way. If you hone in your skills and you're looking to have your own site, that is a great way to sell to physicians. If you can tell me that you know regulatory and you can teach it to me.
What I tell you, I was like, I just need you to do doctor stuff. I know how to do everything. So as far as my skills, I negotiate the budget and first of all, find the study, negotiate the budget and contract, do all the startup, regulatory, IRB submissions. I can see the patients. I'm a medical assistant by trade. So I can draw blood, do EKG, do everything. So I would advise anybody who want to start up a site, learn as much as you possibly can. Because if your coordinator is out, if any of these young ladies are out, I can do it all myself. I can do everything except be Dr. Richmond, but everything else I can do.
And so I'm a bit hands-on. So I can draw blood if it's just me. I can draw blood. I can do all the things as well.
She shipped off labs.
Yeah, I'm a different type of PI. So y'all don't set your
don't get your hopes up.
Don't get your hopes up. It's to the point sometimes they're like, okay, Dr. Richmond, but
we got it. I think I think I saw Dr. K, so I think Dr. Kendrick might have joined as well just now. Let's see. So another question we have, what therapeutic area is SMO focused on?
Family medicine is what we do, or what Dr. Richmond does, but we have a gynecologist, a dermatologist. We are working on a neurologist and GI. So because Dr. Richmond is a family medicine practitioner, we're able to get sub-Is up under us and be able to apply for a lot of different studies.
And I think that's a great point, right? So when you're looking for your PI, it's fine to have a specialist, but I think if you have someone that's family or internist, they can actually cast a larger net and then have sub-Is who are subspecialty be a part of the site. So not that that's something that has to be, but it definitely, I think, makes you a lot more marketable when you can do multiple things and then have a subspecialist.
We talked Alana up. She joined as well. Let's see. Someone asked, at what point did the site become profitable? How many studies did this take?
Very, because we had about 3 studies prior to, but it wasn't a whole lot because we were still trying to figure it out and get our traction. And I always told Dr. Richmond, I said, once we get a women's health trial, because we had a ton of patients with fibroids, I said, that's going to take off. And that's exactly what happened.
And it did. So I think they asked about so even our imaging, we do our ultrasounds on site. A lot of the services that we're able to offer in the clinic were transferable for our research site as well. So the other part of this is if you're seeking a PI, look at what their clinic looks like. Look at what they have available so that you don't have to contract out as much. And then that way you get to have more of the pot. The other thing I was going to say, at least from my perspective, and Erica can attest to this too, we can see a lot of patients in clinic, but when you do that, you do have to submit the bills to insurance companies, and when you get the money back for your visit, it may not be what you billed. Right. And so from a PI's perspective and in private practice and a business model, this is already profitable because I can get a return on my investment in seeing one subject. And I'm talking on the business side. Let me say, as a PI, as a doctor, what I always wanted to do was heal the world and make it a better place. And so I wanted to open private practice, but you have to look at the business side of things. So we definitely want to help community and everything, but we can't be upside down either. And so clinical research is another way to add an additional stream of income while still doing all the beneficence and the community service and everything, but then you got to look at the business side of it. So as a PI, for me, certainly we still have all of our clinic patients, but I can see a clinic patient, or Erica can see a clinic patient, and we bill $250 and we only get $130 from the payer, meaning insurance companies, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Cigna, United, Medicare, Medicaid, right? But then if we have a subject that can, if we bill $250, we're going to get $250. So it's a definitely, I like that question, because I think a lot of times we don't look at the business side of it, but if you're looking to have your own clinical site, you absolutely have to. And for us, again, at least for me as the owner of the clinic, this is an additional stream of income. So it's profitable for us off the top.
Let's see, we have another question. Will your site participate in decentralized studies outside of your area? If so, will you also contract CRCs to perform full service visits at subjects' home?
It depends on the sponsor. So whatever the sponsor brings or presents to us, if they want to do decentralized trials, because we're not against it, it just has to be something that's presented to us. But as far as us trying to decentralize a study that we're doing here, that's probably not going to be likely. You got to come here to see us.
Let's see. So I'm going to, let's see, what can we tell people who are maybe a college student that might be interested in clinical research? Is there any advice that we can give for college student who wants to get into clinical research?
I mentioned it earlier. So Asia is now has finished college and is pre-med and looking to go to medical school. But what started out as her working as a scribe, she's like, okay, what are y'all doing with this clinical research? I want to be a part of that, right? So I would say try to see where you can go in your area, and if not get a job per se, but volunteer. Service goes a long way, and typically service will turn into a job a lot of times. If you're doing well, you're showing that you're a team player, you're showing that you're willing to learn. So that's what I would say. The other advice that I give college students is if you can afford it, go ahead, go to phlebotomy school, go ahead and become a medical assistant. It's because a lot of those skills are transferable, and depending on where you want to go in your career, even if you think that you want to go, postdoc or whatever, those skills in the sciences and in the clinical and medical field are going to take you a long way.
Thank you. So what about, I'm focusing on, everyone there to see what advice would you have for someone who's interested in becoming a co-I?
You mean the co-I?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
When I was at the site, we call it co-investigator. So yes, co-investor. And that's another thing, everyone. There are so many different acronyms that mean the same exact thing. It's just based upon where you're located, what people use. So yes, sub-investigator.
Yeah, so I would say definitely, again, network, show up, talk to the doctors that you know who are doing clinical research, and they're your colleagues. Reach out to them and say, hey, I see you have a clinical research site. I like to volunteer. Shadow. That's what we call it, right? I like to shadow. Can I come and shadow? Or saying that you're interested in clinical research, and what does that look like? I also would recommend, right now I'm a National Medical Fellow in the National Medical Fellowship program through I think it's Parexel and Merck. And so that is giving me even more information. So I see now what we're learning. I see that we've been practicing it all along, but it'll give you a head start into what it looks like to be a PI or a sub PI or or sub I, excuse me, or co-I.
Yes. It's okay, y'all. It's just what we use.
All these acronyms.
You like because when I was learning all of the acronyms, I was like, man, there's a lot of acronyms in here. I had to self-teach myself, but that's exactly what I did, Dr. Richmond. So And I tell people my story all the time because a lot of people think, okay, well, I can't get into clinical research. Like if you want to get in, you can get in. You just, have to think outside the box. And for me, I went on clinicaltrials.gov. I started to find the nearest clinic. So at the time I was living in Georgia, and just like, this would probably be similar to what someone would do if they were trying to get into a clinical trial in Houston, finding it on clinicaltrials.gov, reaching out to, I'm not going to tell y'all this, but reaching out to a site, maybe Dr. Richmond is not looking for anybody right now, so I don't want to put that on. But for example, like reaching out to a site like Dr. Richmond's site and asking them, like, can I shadow? Can I intern? Because that's exactly what I did when I was in Georgia. And it just so happened that the site that I reached out to was a Black-owned clinical research site. So they were very receptive. They were like, oh, you wanna shadow? They're like, come on, like we need the help. And so a lot of times I think people don't realize that a lot of sites are welcoming and receptive if you reach out to the right one. It might take a couple of times, but they usually are willing to help if you contact the right one.
I know that you say this all the time too, but it also goes down in a DM. Send a DM. Like,
Yep.
Go on LinkedIn and just start. That's what I started doing. I'll see somebody, another PI or another Black woman that I see is doing things in clinical research. Hey, I'm Dr. Richmond. And this is one good way too is look them up. See what they have going on. You might have something in common. So it's a lot of Chicagoans. It's a lot of Chicagoans in clinical research. So I'll say, I'm from Chicago too. And just having something that shows that you have taken interest in who they are, what they do, and tying that in. And you just never know what response you'll get back. But it takes going ahead and reaching out.
Yes, LinkedIn is a gold mine for connecting with different people. And let's see, what else? So I'll have it to where if anyone wants to come off mute and ask a question, please feel free. I want this to be interactive. So please, you have a question, if you're interested in opening your own site.
Y'all got the PI, y'all got the SMO, y'all got the research coordinators, y'all got the sub-Is, we got the range of our skills, backgrounds. Feel free, because y'all got us now, because in a minute we're gonna have to get off.
Because in 6 minutes I'm gonna eat.
And we gotta get lunch and get back to work. No,
what's for lunch? What's for lunch?
I made some oxtails for dinner last night, so I got some.
See that? See how she just said that she did not bring everybody some oxtails. See that? See, they thought we were a team. Look what happened.
Look, when it comes to food, it's like.
Oh, it sounds like you're throwing down. Okay. Y'all gonna have a
happy
cook-off
to
there.
unmute. Hi.
Hi.
This is Atira Goodwin. So nice to meet you all via this platform. And I just say congratulations, because I've been in the industry for a very long time, and this is a rarity. So many people stop long before actually getting to this point. And the fact that you are a trailblazer and that you are so willing to communicate that and share with others your experience, because at the end of the day, I really believe in helping each other get to where we can all succeed together. So congratulations. And I'm really excited to meet you all. I do have a question, because I think we've all heard all of the industry think tanks and diversity forums and buzzwords about the barriers to underrepresented communities participating in clinical research. What has your perspective been on trying to gain momentum and engagement within your trials and representation, and kind of how do you tackle that challenge, quote unquote, at your site?
What I found is that things are definitely different from, let's say, 5 years ago when I was reaching out to find studies, although it's still kind of challenging. And I still feel that the whole inclusion and diversity thing is kind of like, they're not fully on board just yet. But I think that when we're in their face, as far as our site, by saying this is what we have to offer, you need, more diverse population to be a part of the study, here we are. And I think by us being out in the front, other people are starting to contact to say, hey, I have a site too. So a lot of Black-owned sites are getting recognized. And I feel that I think in about another year or two, it will definitely be able to see a change. But right now, we're still in that transition part.
Okay. Do you have any suggestions for how other sites can begin to open up the lines of communication and make clinical research more approachable?
So what I have found is like a lot of people, several people, after we did our TikTok, I've gotten several messages in the DM saying, I'm a site owner, this is what I'm doing, and it may be in Atlanta and North Carolina, but they are not representing their brand. They're not representing their company. When you go on their webpage, you don't see who they are. You don't see their name. They're hiding behind a company. And I totally get it, because I was the same way when I first started, because I thought that no one would want to work with me because I'm a Black girl from the South Side of Chicago. What do I know? But then after a while, and linking with Dr. Richmond,
because I'm unapologetically
yes,
a Black doctor.
It made me feel more comfortable with saying, this is my company, this is what I started, and approaching sponsors and saying, this is what I have. So for anybody that's starting a site, wanting to start a site, I would say, don't be afraid of who you are, you know, because I mean, you can't change it.
You can't change it. And look at Oprah. Look at Oprah. Oprah is Oprah. And so, and people still buy, don't buy, whatever she say goes. And so I look at her as an example. She's been able to cross over in so many different realms. So why not for her? Why not just for her? That's for all of us. And so I'm a real big proponent on representing who you are. And those that don't want to work with you, those that don't want to patronize you, those that don't want to be in your study or want to give you a study, then hey, I'm okay with that, because I rather that you be I like to go places where I'm celebrated, not tolerated or excluded. And so we are working on breaking barriers and everything. And so the only way we're going to be able to do that is to truly represent, period. So again, I used to wear an afro. And I had a doctor tell me, well, they are not going to, and it was on one of my posters, and she's like, they're not going to come to you because you have afro. And I said, well, that's too bad for them, because I know what I bring to the table. So, hey, our collective, what we bring to the table, when you come in here, regardless of whatever service you're getting, well, I know we're talking about research now, but even if you're coming here for to be a subject, you will not be treated as a subject. You will become a part of our research family. And so I just think it's so important. And then we're talking about recruitment and bringing the younger ones up. Well, how would they know if they don't see us?
Right. Yep. I completely agree.
About the Facebook group.
Which one?
So that's, and that's another thing, like with Black women in clinical research, we want you to be present. We want you to show up, be your authentic self, whether, we get these questions a lot of times about hair. Let me wear my hair however way I want to wear my hair. Am I getting my work done? Or, can you see that I'm a person that you might be interested in talking to? Like, so many different things where we feel like we might need to hide because of past experiences. But like Dr. Richmond said, I'm ready to kick down the door. I want us to be at these conferences. I want us to be present. I want them to see us and know that there are talented Black women, Black men, and minorities that's involved in clinical research. So, showing up as your authentic self and letting people get a chance and opportunity to know who you are and what you stand for. And I think that's so important in this industry because we don't see that a lot. And so I have been encouraging a lot of the members to, put themselves out there, step outside of your comfort zone and, thinking outside of the box when it comes to clinical research. I think that's really important. So, I know we are getting close to time right now. Is there anyone, ladies, would you like to share anything else? Any last final thoughts for our lunch and learn?
Okay, so I'll share. So follow me on DRT, just joking. No, but I'm for real. Please follow me on Dr. Taria on Instagram, TikTok, And then Facebook is Taria Richmond. And so we're always sharing health information. We're sharing about the trials that we're doing, educating on clinical trials. And so I recommend, I would request that you all follow me on all social media platforms. And then you'll get to kind of see kind of a day in the life of how we interact and what we're able to do. And so I will let y'all know, hey, we got this, like, I see some people say, I got the job, we got the study. So again, I just say, hey, we're all in this together. I know there was over 200 women who 200 guests who have joined this Lunch and Learn. So let's look forward to having more Lunch and Learns. Let's look forward to being members. Let's look forward to all wearing our t-shirts and busting through. And so that's what I would say. I would just encourage y'all to just be unapologetically you. You have the resources, you have the accolades, you have the paper. And even if you don't, it's something about you that is going to make a difference in the clinical research world. So that's all I wanted to say. And thank y'all so much for sharing your lunchtime with us.
Thank you. What about you, Toya?
Well, of course, you all can find me on LinkedIn, Latoya Hinton Howery, and also look up and follow Next Innovative Clinical Research, because we'll be posting any studies that we have coming up, and would love to network with any site owners. I would love to network with African-American site owners, men, women. We can network, we can start our own forces and get a network of studies going on.
Ladies?
Well, thank you for having us. I am on social media. I just have, personal pages, but I just want to say that I think it's very important that we continue to support one another. We can be the help to the next person coming up. I'm thankful for Dr. Richmond and Toya for putting me on into clinical research, because it's something that I never would have imagined for myself. But having the knowledge that I've gained and the things that it can take me to in the future is like unlimited. So
in the far future, no, just
yeah. But I also want to say I started with Dr. Richmond part-time, working Monday through Wednesday just as a nurse practitioner in her clinic. And since then, she has opened the doors to many places to where I'm doing clinical research, and I work at another facility Thursday, Friday. So I have now been able to no longer work weekends as a nurse practitioner and spend more time with my family. So I'm grateful for that. It's the small things, and it's not always about the money, because that will come, like Dr. Richmond says. But if you have a passion and a heart for things and helping others, that's what matters the most. So I'm just grateful for the opportunity, and I'm grateful for what's to come for our clinic and our research clinic.
That is amazing. Yes, changing the lives of the members that you work with, so that they can change the lives of your patients. Because if the people that you work with are happy, then your patients more than likely are going to be happy. So, anyone else? Last final words, Asia, Jasmine.
Don't be afraid. Go out there and network, because a closed mouth doesn't get fed.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right.
Okay, Chicago.
Y'all
Okay.
heard that, didn't you?
All right. I'm out of Chicago. Okay. Well, thank you so much, ladies. And if you want to buy a t-shirt, like we said again earlier, go on bwicr.com and you can follow Dr. Richmond, Latoya on social network. I'm sure they're probably about to put out a viral video again. I can't wait. I'm like, y'all good. Okay. I'm like, y'all need to help me do so. I don't dance, but maybe I could do a little something.
All you gotta do is move your shoulders.
And I was gonna say that TikTok idea was Jasmine and Asia, right? It was Erica. I just know they were like, okay, Dr. Richmond, we doing a TikTok, and they know I'm down. So I'm like, okay, let's go. And it went viral. So
I was looking at it, I was like, are those forceps?
Yes, man. That was a speculum. It was a speculum.
Okay. Yes, that's what I meant. Look at me. All right. Well, thank you everyone so much. Thank you for joining, and you have a great lunch. Hope you were able to eat some lunch while we were talking for the people in the audience. But thank you again. Have a good one.